Okay, get Chodesh to everybody. Chazdei Hashem. Kollel Elul. Welcome back for all those that were here, our founding members from last month. Bruchim Baboyim to those that have just joined us. Be'ez Hashem b'siyat Nishmai. It's going to be a gewaldiges man, gewaldige limud that we have as well. With tremendous siyat Nishmai. We'll speak about that Be'ez Hashem in a minute. A few minutes, Efsha. I want to start now with a little bit of an inyan on Yonah de Yoima. Kollel Elul. There's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Yud Aleph Amud Aleph tells us a little bit about the Yesod of the time that we're right now experiencing, and that Be'ezus Hashem Kollel Elul L'Tova, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. And the Gemara calls almost like a name for Chodesh Tishrei. The Gemara says, Rabbi Lezer Oimet, Menayin Shabbatishin Nol de Ovois. How do we know that the Ovois were born in Tishrei? The Gemara goes to Agan Sarichas over there, which I'm not going to at this moment of time. But the Gemara calls Chodesh Tishrei Yerach HaIsonim. Yerach HaIsonim basically means the Yesod of this month that we're going through now, that we're experiencing. It's a remez to the Esoni Olam, to the Gimel Ovois, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's what this time that we're experiencing now is represented by. That means each of the Yomim Tovim, Haba Aleinu L'Tova, that we're about to experience, is merames to one of our Ovois. Rosh Hashanah is Keneged Avraham Avinu, Yom Kippur Keneged Yitzchak, and Sukkot is Keneged Yaakov. On Rosh Hashanah, we'll explain. On Rosh Hashanah we begin with a new year, a new freshness. Keneged Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu had this yesod of bringing this freshness to Yiddishkeit because he was the first one that found the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. He discovered the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. Even though there's Rayas, Noach, and Adam Arishan, not for now, but Avraham Avinu recognized more than anybody else a different madrega, the pnimius of the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. He was, so to speak, the head, the Rosh of our nation, the Rosh of Kollel Yisrael. Mimela, he represents that freshness. So Chazal tell us that b'schus of Avraham Avinu, the world was created. That's why Rosh Hashanah, which Tchilas Sabriya, as we say in the Musaf, Ze Hayom Tchilas Ma'asecha. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning. It's the beginning of creation. It's the beginning of the world as we know it, and that started b'schus Avraham Avinu. Yom Kippur is when Kollel Yisrael offered themselves and continue to do so as a korban to the Rabbeinu Shel Olam, withholding themselves from any of the pleasure of this world. Everything that we enjoy, whether it's eating, drinking, all of the physical pleasures that we enjoy, we prevent ourselves. We offer ourselves as a korban to the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. We withhold from all the tanugim, and that was Yitzchak. Yitzchak offered himself as a korban. So that's why Yom Kippur represents Yitzchak. And Sukkot is Keneged Yaakov Avinu. Pasuk in Bereishis Lamed Gimel Yud Zayin, V'Yaakov nosa Sukkoisa, V'Yivin lo Bayis Elokeinu osa Sukkos. So you see this lashon again of Yaakov Avinu and Sukkot seems to go together. So that's what the Gemara tells us in Rosh Hashanah. The question we have to ask ourselves is, okay, beautiful. What's the shaykhus to us? How's it going to help our avodah? What really is this representing to us on a deeper level, on a physical level, on a practical level? Just because the Yomim Tovim that are coming up in Chodesh Tishrei represent Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, what lemaisa does that mean to us? So Brazil Tauber Zatzal brings a beautiful yesod in his sefer. We say, "Mekadosh Amo Yisrael al yidei chuppah v'kiddushin." I was zeicha, Baruch Hashem, to say this bracha many times under the chuppah. For many Talmidim, it's a tremendous time for me personally to be able to stand under a chuppah when a Talmud is getting married, he's starting his next chapter of life, to say that bracha, Mekadesh Amo Yisrael al yidei chuppah v'kiddushin. That means, and it represents that the kesher, the connection between the Rabbeinu Shel Olam and Kollel Yisrael is a kesher of nisuin. It's a kesher of marriage. Kollel Yisrael came to Har Sinai with the bris nisuin, and from there they became and still are dovuk to the Rabbeinu Shel Olam. Now this musag of dveikus, being dovuk, It's mentioned twice in the Torah in regards to two different situations. Kesher bein Amo Yisrael, in other words, between Hashem and Kollel Yisrael, and a kesher between Ish v'Ishtay. These are the two times that we find this idea of dveikus. Number one, va'atem adveikim ba'Hashem Elokeichem. That's between us and the Rabbeinu Shalom. That's dveikus. And then al kain yazev ishes ovives imoy v'dovak be'ishtay. The other time that we find it, dveikus, is between husband and wife, male and female. There's a dveikus, there's a connection over there. So in marriage, we know that there are three stages. And these three stages generally are represented by the relationship that every single one of us can build and is expected to build with the Rabbeinu Shalom. Number one, first stage, is you've got to get together. Like if you're not going to get together, if you're not going to see each other, meet each other, be together, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to develop from there. So the very first stage is just simply physically just getting together. Number two, the next stage after that would be setting up a home. You want to set up a home, you want to build a home, children, Be'ez Hashem, that's the next stage. And the stage after that is trying to bring down the Shekhinah and the Kedusha to the home that you built with the children that you have. That's the next stage. And that eventually sends out those children to different places, wherever they may be, with what you built in the home. Avram Avinu had an amazing relationship with the Rabbeinu Shalom. Avram Avinu discovered the Rabbeinu Shalom and continued his life with the Rabbeinu Shalom. And that represents stage number one. Stage number one, just simply getting together. Avram Avinu found Kaviyachol the Rabbeinu Shalom. He discovered him. He made him, that was it. That was the beginning. So you have to first make that connection. So that was Avram Avinu. He was able to do that. After Avram came Yitzchak. Yitzchak completed the work that his father started. And he was Mesakin his midas. He worked on his character. He worked on himself. Ad kedei kach that he was on the madrega of being Moisa Nefesh, his life for the Rabbeinu Shalom. That means he set up his house in this world for Hashem. I was sitting yesterday I got a tremendous chus. I was sitting yesterday with a Ger Tzedek from Colombia. A Ger Tzedek, he became a Ger about 6-7 years ago. Moedik Maisa. Unbelievable story. How he became, Mamash, his great-grandfather was a Satmar Chosid, never married a guy. Tremendous story. And he's actually here in Eretz Yisrael because his girlfriend is also becoming a Gyoris this week by Ronis and Karelitz in Bnei Brak. And the moment that she becomes a Gyoris, he's, I don't know, we didn't discuss whether he's going to get down on one knee or not get down on one knee, but he's going to propose. He said, I don't care if it's in the airport, I don't care if it's in the street in Bnei Brak, it doesn't bother me. I'm proposing the minute she becomes a Yid. So that's why he's here, and we discussed a few things yesterday, whatever. But he said to me, this gewaltige Yesod, he said to me like this, he said, I became Jewish, and I went through the process, he became Jewish, whatever. But now, he says, now I'm Jewish, now what do I do? He says, now I work on myself, I work on my midas. And he was explaining to me in the most amazing way how he works on his anger, he works on his jealousy, he works on his midas. That's mamash this Yesod. Avram Avinu made the kesher. There was a connection, there was Yiddishkeit. But after that, there needs to be a tikkun midas. There needs to be something that a person reaches a madrega of Yitzchak, which is a mesiras nefesh to the Rabbeinu Shalom, because he's worked on himself in such a tremendous way. Afterwards came Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu completed the third and final stage, which is giving birth to the 12 Shvatim. Now, Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Berabim, Megala the Shem Hashem in the ganze Welt. So those are the three stages. So the three of us that we have are be'etzem starting the kesher of Nisuin with the Rabbeinu Shalom, which corresponds to the three Moyadim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot of Tishrei. And that is connected the kesher of Nisuin that we are meant to have and emulate to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Let's explain on a deeper level. Rosh Hashanah is Avram Avinu. What are we meant to do on Rosh Hashanah? On Rosh Hashanah, we start our kesher with the Rabbeinu Shalom. Our tafkid on Rosh Hashanah, as the Gemara tells us, is to be mamlich the Rabbeinu Shalom. To be mamlich, I am the Am, and the Rabbeinu Shalom is the Melech Malchei Amlachim. To make that connection, to start it going again. That's why we have Rosh Hashanah before Yom Kippur. You can't have Yom Kippur before Rosh Hashanah. You first have to be makir, who you are and who the Rabbeinu Shalom is, and the kesher between. That's number one. That's what Rosh Hashanah is. And that's why it's almost, in a way, it's doima to a chasana. Because in every chasana, the chasana normally begins on a bit more of a sort of a calm, even emotional sort of tone. You've got the chuppah, Kabbalas Ponim, where everyone's sort of, people are davening, the chosin, the kala, the parents, the grandparents, everybody's in tefillah, everyone's serious, it's a serious moment. And then as soon as the glass gets smashed, everybody's mamish, it's gewaldig. It has that sort of, Rosh Hashanah is very similar in the way that we have a emas hadin, we have a pachad hadin. It's Rosh Hashanah. Everything's being decided. On the other hand, we're also batuach badin. We wear Shabbos clothing, we have Yom Tov Sudas, because we're batuach badin also. It has that double sort of side to it as well. Now the dveikus that we are expected to build with the Rabbeinu Shalom, we learn from Avram Avinu, who's the very first one that had that kesher with the Rabbeinu Shalom. And every single person is expected to have that kesher and work towards it, however low you fell, whatever you've done, whatever you've said, heard, saw, whatever it may be, you are still expected to jump up and have that dveikus. And we learn from Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu started from Ephes, maybe you want to say even lower, started from negative. Ovid Avodah Zarah grew up, Kaifa grew up mamish in a home of mamish Avodah Zarah all over the place, and look what he did. So what do we learn from Avram Avinu on Rosh Hashanah? We learn that every single one of us can also build that kesher. We can also have that dveikus, however low that we fell, we could still do that because Avram Avinu represents Rosh Hashanah, and that's what we're meant to be doing. We learn from Avram Avinu that yesod. Yom Kippur, Yitzchak Avinu. Yom Kippur is a time that a person controls himself. He completes himself. He's masakin his midas through Mesiras Nefesh of giving up the things that he likes, that he needs, and that he wants. Food, drink, v'chole, v'chole. It's a complete immersion in Yonei Ruchnius. He reaches levels almost of a malach. So you state, right? Baruch Shem, you say loud. For that reason, it completes the second level of connection. And then we have Sukkot, Yaakov Avinu. The avodah that we're meant to do on Sukkot is to learn from Yaakov Avinu, who built a home, the 12 Shvatim, Megala Shem Shemaim in the world. And that's what we do. On Sukkot, we go out of our homes and we go out into the streets almost. And we're Mekadesh Shem Shemaim. We keep the mitzvahs, we keep the Torah outside of our homes. We teach us the journey of that we have throughout life is a journey that doesn't always keep us confined within our homes, but sometimes sends us on different journeys. But those journeys have to be bedveikus with the Rabbeinu Shalom. That was Yaakov Avinu. Mekadosh Shem Shemayim with Torah and mitzvahs. Now, after a yid connects to Rabbeinu Shalom on Rosh Hashanah, after he's mashlim himself with the avodah of Yom Kippur, now he's ready to reach the third madrega, which is to be Mekadosh Hashem in the world, which is Sukkot. So now the question obviously remains, I'm sure the Olim is asking, okay, so why didn't you tell us this before Rosh Hashanah? Like, what's Elul going to do with all of this? What's our avodah and Elul to get to all of this? If this is Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, what is Elul meant to represent? So it must be that Elul is almost similar to when you have a chasana and kala, who waited for that day of the chasana, Yom Chupasai, when they'd be so excited, that anticipation, that excitement of waiting for that day after they got engaged, after the initial connection. They're waiting for it to happen, but it's not just a waiting period, it's a preparation time. All of you know that before you got married, I'm assuming that everybody prepared themselves, not only buying a suit and whatever else that you bought, but preparation, beruchnias, preparation in halacha, preparation of what it means to build a Yiddish home. There's preparation that needs to be done. And sometimes I tell married couples sometimes that if you'd spend so much time, or as much time on your marriage as you did preparing for your marriage, then probably things will be in a little bit of a better place sometimes. Because people prepare so much. But when it comes to the actual thing, like, okay, people get so excited, right? They're excited when they're a chosim because I haven't got the oil of being married, whatever that means. They're not sure themselves what that means. So like, it's an exciting period of time that they're waiting for, that in anticipation. That's what this is right now. Elul is a time that we're anticipating, we're waiting with excitement for that connection on Rosh Hashanah, for that dveikus. You're right, it's before the Emas Adin. We're not worried right now. Maybe some of you are. But haven't got that deep worry that we have on Rosh Hashanah that, what's happening today? What's being written down today? We don't have that right now. So it's before you get to the chuppah, it's before you get to the Kabbalas Ponim, it's before you get to the Chosim Tish, where there's tefillahs and tehillim and have to daven for this one, daven for that one. Now it's calm. This is Elul. We're in a preparation of time right now where we have to work on our souls to anticipate that which is coming. And the emissaries, we can understand Elul, maybe more about Elul, from the very first Elul in history. When was the very first Elul in history of Kollel Yisrael? It was right after the Chet Egel. The Chet Egel was one of the things that blemished the love and the kesher between the Rabbeinu Shalom and Kollel Yisrael for a very, very long time, ad hayom hazeh. It wasn't even 40 days after Matan Torah. Yom Simchas Libam, everything was revealed at that time. The Av of Hashem was so, you could feel it. Kollel Yisrael felt it. And yet, Kollel Yisrael basically, essentially said by the Chet Egel, Rabbeinu Shalom, we want nothing to do with you. We don't want a connection. Chas v'shalom, that's what they said. Now, there doesn't exist almost a physical tragedy in this world that we're living in now that doesn't have within it some remnants of the Chet Egel inside it. It's the root of all the pain. It's the root of all the tsar that Kollel Yisrael have and still unfortunately go through, comes from there. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up and he experiences Yomim, days of chaos, of anger, Kaviyachol, from the Rabbeinu Shalom, from Yud Zayin Tammuz until Rosh Chodesh Elul. And almost, Chazal tell us, almost the Rabbeinu Shalom said, I'm cutting off everything. I want nothing to do with this nation. I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with you people. It was almost all over. Yud Zayin Tammuz until Rosh Chodesh Elul. And the Moshe Rabbeinu kept on going, kept on begging, kept on pleading. And then all of a sudden on Rosh Chodesh Elul, Chazal tell us, Moshe Rabbeinu gets the command, Psalach Hashay Luchais, that's it, make Luchais, and we'll restart the connection. That's the Chiddush of Chodesh Elul. The Chiddush of Chodesh Elul that we can learn from the very first Chodesh Elul that ever happened in history is Moshe Rabbeinu showing his Ratzon to the Rabbeinu Shalom, I want this connection. We did the Chet Egel, we did our Averas, I don't care. I still want that connection. And the moment the Rabbeinu Shalom saw that, then Hashem said, I'm going to Kaviyachol reciprocate, and I'm going to give you that dveikus, I'm going to give you that connection. And that's why in Chodesh Elul, we were zocha to have that connection again, which is why, according to many Shittas, we blow the shofar now, even though Ba'etzem, it's coming up to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Adin, but it doesn't bother us. It doesn't bother us that it's come to Yom Adin. It doesn't bother us that we're going to be standing by the shofar, literally, in a month. We're going to be standing there, which is the Zman of Din. But it's okay because we want the kesher between us and the Rabbeinu Shalom. We want that dveikus. The whole month is to show ourselves and the Rabbeinu Shalom that we have a rotzen to come close. That's why this is not a Seres Tshuva, that's after Rosh Hashanah. Now we're preparing ourselves to coronate the Melech Malchei Amlochim. We prepare ourselves to be His to be His nation. The Simcha of Rosh Hashanah that you're going to have, Be'ez Hashem, comes from a month of working right now. That when you work on Elul now, when you come to anticipation, when you realize what you're missing, when you realize what you could have, and you prepare yourself each day a little bit more, a little bit closer with that dveikus, then you can come to everything else. And that's our tefillah that we started saying in the Dover Hashem, Oivi V'ishi. Acha sha'alti me'is Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalom, one thing. I just have one thing to ask. One thing, I want a kesher with the Rabbeinu Shalom. I want a connection to Hashem. That's what I want. That's all I'm asking for. And this kesher, by the way, is split up into 3 levels, 3 madrigas. You've got number 1, Shifti B'veis Hashem. That's Rosh Hashanah. Shifti connection. I want to sit there. I want to be there. I want to connect. Physically, I'm going to be there. That's Shifti B'veis Hashem. I want to connect. I need a doidi. And then, on Yom Kippur, when we work on ourselves, we prevent all the tanugim that we want and we have, and we become almost like a level of a malach. It brings us to Lach Zois B'noyam Hashem. And then we have Sukkos, which is the Bechin of Levake Behechaloi. We come mamish into the Heichal of the Rabbeinu Shalom. So the Mayadim that we're about to experience, the Yom Tovim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkos, that we're having in Chodesh Tishrei, that we're having Ba'aleinu the Tova in a month's time, are building a kesher steadily with the Rabbeinu Shalom from number 1 all the way to number 3. But you need an Elul. You need a Hakdama. You need a preparation time. And that's now. If only we would show the Rabbeinu Shalom that we want, that we really want, then just like he did it to Moshe Rabbeinu then, on Rosh Chodesh Elul, then we can also be Zoicha to that as well. And I'll just end with the Mordikas Fasemis. Mordikas Fasemis. Fasemis says, if you look this one up, Tofresh and Zayin, Fasemis says, Avada, he brings Elul as Rosh Tevis, Anina Doidi V'Doidi Li. And he says, Ki Ikka HaTshuva, Loshen of the Heiliges Fasemis, Ki Ikka HaTshuva Tzorech Lios Al Zeh. This is the Ikka Tshuva. What does that mean? Ani V'Doidi V'Doidi Li, that's the Ikka Tshuva. Zuk das Fasemis. He says, and I'm not going to go through the Rosh, you can look it up yourselves. We were sent down to this world. We were here on this world. Why? To do the Ratzon Hashem. That's why we're on this world. We're here on this world to fulfill the Ratzon of the Melech Malchei Hamlochim of the Rebbeinu Shalom. But sometimes we forget. Unfortunately, whatever. We get distracted. We get busy. We get taken over by other things. We forget about the Ikar. We forget about why we're here. So what's the Ikar Tshuva? Zugdus Fasemes of Elul right now. This is to be Makabel, what it means to be an Eved, Makabel, what it means to do the Ratzon Hashem. In order to do the Ratzon Hashem, you have to be Muchain, you have to be prepared to do it. And he says, V'im, the Kabbalin's there, b'shleimus. He says like this, if you're makabel at b'shleimus, if you're really makabel this old, you want to do this? You want to do the Ratzon Hashem? You show the Rebbeinu Shalom that this is what you really want? Then ani l'doidi, ani starts with ani. Ani l'doidi, I want to be with the Rebbeinu Shalom. And then zukdus fasemis mimela, v'doidi li. The Rebbeinu Shalom will reciprocate and give us that kesher as well. We should be zoicha be'ez Hashem to a tremendous man, as man of Torah and Yerushalayim, maisim tovim, chesed, staka, all of the gewaldige things, and be'ikir, the tshuva that we had to show the Rebbeinu Shalom that we want that dveikis, that we want the kesher with the Rebbeinu Shalom, and be'ez Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom sees our emes ratzon, he'll give it to us be'ez Hashem.